Stormfront is a character from the comic book series The Boys, which comes to us from the publisher Dynamite. He is one of the supers utilized by Vought, but also has his own dark backstory. Imagine if you took DC's Shazam and Marvel's Thor and combined them together. That's kind of what Stormfront is like in terms of look and abilities, but definitely not personality. It's just been announced that Stormfront will be joining the roster of supers we'll get to see in season 2 of The Boys live action series on Amazon Prime. But maybe in a way that might surprise you. Speaking of surprises, that's exactly what we'll be looking at on this list today about Stormfront as we count down the top 10 shocking Stormfront facts, and get to learn a little bit more about this superhero slash really villain from The Boys. And be sure to stick around till the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Soul Killer. I personally found this reveal kind of shocking, considering the superheroes in the world of The Boys are usually pretty wretched people. Stormfront is actually the only member on his team, Payback, to have a kill count. None of them are cold-blooded murderers like he is. In fact, they aren't really fond of killing at all. Mindroid is the one to remind Stormfront of this fact when Stormfront demands the team stop whining and get the job done of exterminating the boys. Stormfront just wants to be on a better team. He's like, come on, Payback, we could be a great team. We could be like the 7. And they're like, I don't want to kill people, but I guess we have to. Number 9. Second most powerful being. Stormfront is actually rumored to be the second most powerful being in the comics, second only to Homelander. His powers include electricity manipulation and control, flight, super strength, and super speed. He can actually fly so fast that he's capable of producing sonic booms. He's also basically invulnerable, very hard to defeat in battle, and someone who can easily take on any member of the boys. This combined with his commanding presence is likely why he often takes command of the team Payback, despite the fact that technically Soldier Boy is supposed to be the leader of that superhero team. Number 8. Denied membership to the 7. Pretty much every member of Payback has expressed interest in being part of the 7, but was denied membership for various reasons. Because everyone knows that Payback is just not as good of a team as the 7, so obviously they want to be on that. In terms of Stormfront being denied membership, likely some of these reasons had to do with the fact that his own strong beliefs tend to somewhat cloud his judgment while on missions, and he doesn't hide his blatant racism, which makes him a little hard to market sometimes. So he and the other members of Payback had to settle for being part of a team that is generally considered to be the B-lister or C or D-lister in comparison. Payback is actually a parody of the Marvel's Avengers. Their leader, Soldier Boy, is a parody of team leader Captain America. Tech Knight is like Iron Man, Crimson Countess is like Scarlet Witch, Swatto is similar to Ant-Man, Mindroid has kinda some Vision vibes going on despite not actually being a droid, and Stormfront is obviously their really messed up version of Thor. Number 7. Lost an eye. Despite being the second most powerful superhero in the Boys comics, Stormfront also found himself injured as a result of a fight with the Boys member, the female of the species, in issue 31 of The Boys. The female injured herself while trying to claw at Stormfront and rip him apart using her hands. Usually this is a technique that works great for her as she is super strong and ferocious, but Stormfront is so durable she actually lost the tips of her fingers during her attempt to do this. What she did manage to do, however, was pull out one of Stormfront's eyeballs. Ouch! While this is an impressive feat to manage, it also royally pissed him off, resulting in Stormfront beating the female into a comatose state. Honestly, it's amazing that she even managed to survive this fight. Number 6. Weakness. While being one of the most powerful beings in the world of the Boys, Stormfront still has weaknesses, like almost any super. While his skin is almost impenetrable and does not seem to be easily pierced, it does not seem to be fully impervious to blunt force. In other words, if you're strong enough, you're likely to get results when it comes to attacking Stormfront with blunt objects like the bats and tire irons we often see the Boys brandishing. Or, you know, just your feet. Stormfront is not so impervious that these weapons bend or break on contact. He also is super sensitive to blunt force when it comes to his more squishy parts. I think you know what I mean. Number 5. Gender swap. That's right, we've recently found out that Aya Cash will be playing the role of Stormfront in season 2 of The Boys. Stormfront is a guy in the comics, so this is quite the surprise for fans of the series. However, the show has been known for its bold choices when it comes to changing up and building on the comic series story, with many of its twists and embellishments actually being celebrated by fans. Not only has it kept those that are intimately familiar with the series on their toes, but in some ways the changes have actually improved the story. So it'll be interesting interesting to see what The Boys has to offer us when it comes to this gender swap on the character. Thus far, we've also gotten a good look at some pictures of Aya Cash in her revamped Stormfront costume, and wow, does it look sleek. I'm especially a fan of the belt and the trimmed cape, obviously the eagle on her belt reflecting a nice nod to the original Stormfront outfit. Cash has also said that when it comes to how her character will play into the story, that Stormfront is really there to shake things up for the Seven, and especially for Homelander. She has some strong views and a more modern, social media savvy approach when it comes to the way that she is marketed and advertised as a hero. So that should be really interesting to see. Number 4. His true origins. Thought's public origin story for Stormfront in the comics was that he was a reincarnated Viking. They likely went with this story to help explain the electrical powers, which would make more sense given the light of his Viking heritage. That, and he appears to have some weather manipulation abilities, but this is just a cover-up. Something to make him seem more marketable when compared with his real origins, which are quite dark. In reality, Stormfront was actually one of the youngest soldiers of the Third Reich. That's right, he was working for Hitler when he was just a child, being used as a super soldier Nazi weapon in World War II, and as such, he is a very pro-Aryan Nazi mindset when it comes to his views on the world and the people who inhabit it. At the end of the war, he was going to be destroyed, but fortunately, he escaped this fate. Or unfortunately, because he's a really terrible person. Number 3. Not a Nazi. While his true origins in the comics may be that he's a literal Nazi from World War II, the Amazon Prime series is claiming it will take a different direction when it comes to Stormfront's origins. Eric Kripke, who developed the live-action show, has instead said that their take on the character will be more modern. So instead of Stormfront's character being a literal Nazi, they'll be more inspired by the modern day rise in racism and white nationalism that we are facing now in the present. Number 2. The Eagle. So you may have noticed the eagle imagery that stands out on Stormfront's costume by now, and you may have even drawn parallels to the eagle imagery that we also see in Homelander's costume out of the comics. It's patriotic, but what kind of patriotism exactly? Well, at first glance, the eagle might appear to be a reference to the national bird of the USA, the bald eagle. It is actually more likely a reference to Stormfront's Nazi origins. The Third Reich used almost identical eagle imagery to the imagery that is used on his chest and belt with the eagle standard, which in ancient times was also a common symbol for the Roman Empire as well. Fun historical facts. Nazis like to pull things from all over the place actually, a lot of imagery that they used. Number 1. The first super? Superpowers in the world of The Boys are usually gained through exposure to a drug known as Compound V. Using this drug can either grant you superpowers temporarily or permanently, depending on who made that drug and how pure it is. In fact, while taking a street-made version can give you powers, it can also seriously mess you up, giving you cancer and even can eventually result in death. The drug was originally created by John Vogelbaum, a Jewish scientist who was forced to work for Nazis in the 1930s developing it. They used the drug to create super soldiers, with one such test subject being young Stormfront himself. After the war, Vogelbaum escaped to America, managing to steal young Stormfront away with him, protecting him from being destroyed in the process. There he began working for Vought, while Stormfront became known as the sole surviving super of the original test subjects, which is why a lot of people credit him as being the first superhero pretty much ever in The Boys. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope we didn't shock you too much with some of these facts. Are you a fan of The Boys series, either comic book wise or show wise? Are there other comic series from Dynamite that you also really love? Do you want to see more lists on specific indie series or publishers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already on your way down there. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube. If you don't want it, you just cut that line. Yeah. Okay. Number 10. Soul Killer. Not like Soul Killer. Like the Soul Killer. You know, the only one. Flight, super strength, and speed. I said that like he does speed. Let me say that again. What's happening? Are there ghosts? There's always something happening. Oh jeez, okay. Like bats. I said that and then I immediately thought of bats, and now my mind is broken. Sorry. Like bats. Eee, squee. Nazis are bad. Nazis are terrible. I said it here first. Is he a Nazi or isn't he a Nazi? What's going on, Amanda?